Peptides are changing the way we think about recovery, metabolism, and longevity. And today, I want to show you why. I'm Jay Patel here from MyFitMed. In today's video, we are breaking down some of the most talked about peptides in health, performance, and longevity space. Not from hype perspective, but from education, science, and evidence-based perspective. Peptides are one of the most fascinating area in modern medicine and optimization. If you're into longevity, hormones, recovery, or performance optimization, this is a video you are going to want to save and come back to it. A quick disclaimer before we start. The video is for educational purpose only. It is not a personal medical advice, and peptides should always be approached with proper medical guidance under medical supervision. Now with that said, let's get into it. Let's start with one of the most recognized peptide in the recovery world, BPC-157. BPC-157 stands for Body Protection Compound 157 and is derived from protective peptide sequence associated with gastric juice. The origin is part of why people become interested in it, not only for musculoskeletal recovery, but also for gut support and tissue healing more broadly. What makes BPC-157 so compelling is the healing conversation around it. In preclinical research, BPC-157 has been associated with pathways involved in tissue repair, angiogenesis, fibroblast activity, and cellular signaling related to recovery. In simple terms, it appears to support the body's ability to coordinate repair. That's why it has become so popular in conversation around tendon issues, ligament recovery, muscle strain, inflammation, and even GI support. From a science perspective, the excitement comes from the mechanism. The body already knows how to heal, but the peptide like BPC-157 may help optimize signaling around that healing process. Now, it's important to say that a lot of the strongest evidence here is still preclinical, but what keeps BPC-157 at the center of the peptide conversation is that the biology is interesting, the mechanism is compelling, and a lot of people are drawn to it because it aligns with the goal almost everyone has, better recovery. So the big takeaway with BPC-157 is this: it's popular because it speaks to one of the most universal goals in medicine and performance, helping the body repair more efficiently. And that's exactly why it remains one of the foundational peptides in the recovery conversation. Next up is TB500, another major name in the tissue repair world. TB500 is commonly discussed as a synthetic version of derivative related to thymosin beta-4, a peptide involved in cell migration, tissue remodeling, and repair processes. And that's matter because healing is not just about creating new tissue. It's also about moving the right cells into the right place at the right time. That's one of the reasons TB500 gets so much attention. Mechanistically, it is often associated with actin regulation and cellular movement, which are important part of wound healing and recovery. This is also why BPC-157 and TB500 are so often discussed together. While BPC-157 is often talked about in context of localized repair signaling, TB500 is often described in a way that suggests broader support for tissue recovery and cellular coordination. This combination has made TB500 especially popular among people interested in athletic recovery, injury support, and systemic healing protocols. From an educational standpoint, TB500 is interesting because it highlights an important concept in regenerative medicine. Healing is not one single event. It's a coordinated process involving inflammation, blood flow, repair signaling, and cell movement. So what makes TB500 stand out is its place in a bigger healing picture. It represents the idea that recovery is not just about reducing pain. It's about supporting the biological choreography of repair. And that's why TB500 remains such a key peptide in recovery and performance space. Now let's shift into anabolic and growth signaling world with IGF-1 LR3. If you want to understand IGF-1 LR3, the first thing to understand is IGF-1 itself, insulin-like growth factor 1. This is one of the major downstream mediator of growth hormone activity, and it plays a central role in growth, tissue repair, nutrient signaling, and anabolic processor. IGF-1 LR3 is modified form designed to have a longer duration of action, which is part of what makes it so interesting in performance and body composition discussions. Biologically, this peptide sits on a very meaningful pathway. It's connected to a muscle growth, cellular growth signaling, tissue recovery, and metabolic effect. That's why it gets attention from people interested in physique enhancement, recovery, and high-level performance optimization, even for muscle building. What makes IGF-1 LR different from many other peptides is that it's not just being marketed around wellness language. It connects to a pathway that has a deep biological significance. When people talk about wanting more growth, better recovery or anabolic support, this is the one of the pathways that are really talking about. The takeaway with IGF-1 LR3 is that it sits much closer to one of the body's major growth engines, and that's what makes it such an important peptide to understand. It gives you a clearer window into how growth hormone signaling actually translates into a real biological effect. But make sure to do this peptide under medical supervision only. The next is GHK-Cu, one of the most versatile and widely discussed peptide in the aesthetic and healthy aging space. GHK-Cu is the copper peptide made up of glycine, histidine, and lysine bound to copper. It has become especially well known for its role in skin health, collagen support, wound healing, and hair-related applications. This is one of the peptides that crosses over beautifully between beauty, regenerative medicine, and longevity. Why? Because at the core of it, GHK-Cu is about repair and renewal. It has been studied in relation to tissue remodeling, collagen production, antioxidant effects, skin appearance, and hair follicle support. That's why it shows up so often in topical skincare product, hair serum, and increasing in broader peptide conversation. What makes GHK-Cu so attractive is that it connects aesthetic to biology. When people want healthier looking skin, better skin quality, improved wound healing, or better support for hair, what they are really looking for is better tissue signaling and better regenerative support. And that is exactly the range GHK-Cu lives in. So the reason GHK-Cu continues to stand out is that it sits right at the intersection of beauty and biology. It's not just about looking better, it's about supporting the repair system that helps tissue look and function more youthful over time. Now let's talk about one of the most exciting peptides in the metabolic world, Retatrutide. If semaglutide got world's attention and trizepatide pushed the conversation further, Reta is part of the next wave of metabolic innovation. What makes it so interesting is that its multi-receptor activity. It acts on GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon-related pathway, which gives it a broader metabolic profile than many earlier compounds. That matters because the body composition is not just about hunger, it's about appetite signaling, insulin sensitivity, energy expenditure, nutrient partitioning, and how the brain and body regulate metabolism together. Retatrutide has generated so much excitement because it reflects a larger shift in medicine. We are no longer just thinking about weight loss as willpower. We are understanding it as a physiology. And the peptides like this are helping reshape the conversation. For people interested in longevity, this is a major topic because metabolic health sits at the center of so many long-term outcomes. From cardiovascular health to inflammation to energy to body composition, we're talking about the long-term health, not just a short-term weight loss. So bigger story with Reta is not just about fat loss. It's a metabolic science evolving in a real time. It represents a future where peptides are not only helping people lose weight, but helping us better understand the biology of energy balance and long-term health. Next up is Ipamorelin, one of the best known peptides in the growth hormone secretagogue category. Ipamorelin is designed to stimulate growth hormone release by acting on a ghrelin receptor. And this is very important concept in a peptide medicine. Instead of replacing a hormone directly, some peptides are designed to signal the body to release more of what it's already making. That's the huge part why people find peptides so appealing. Ipamorelin becomes popular because it's offered a way to support the growth hormone pathway in a more targeted, peptide-based format. And a growth hormone signaling matters for a lot of things people care about. Recovery, body composition, sleep quality, tissue support, and healthy aging. When people talk about feeling drawn to peptide because they seem more physiology or more signaling based, Ipamorelin is a great example of that mindset. It's really a peptide about communication. It's trying to tap into body's own hormone rhythm and encourage output through signaling rather than brutal force replacement. So what makes Ipamorelin so interesting is that it reflects one of the core promises of peptide therapy, working with the body's signaling system, not just around them. And that idea is the big reason peptide continues to capture so much attention in optimization medicine. Now let's talk about Tesamorelin, another peptide that lives in growth hormone conversation but in more direct and clinically interesting way. Tesamorelin is a growth hormone releasing hormone analog. That means it works upstream by stimulating the body's own release of growth hormone through a pathway that is closely tied to a natural hormone signal. This is a peptide that gets a lot of attention in body composition conversation, especially because of its relationship to visceral fat and metabolic function. And from an educational standpoint, this is important peptide because it shows how specific peptide design can target very specific physiologic goals. This is what makes peptide science so fascinating. These are not random compounds. They are often engineered around receptor biology. signaling precision, and targeted physiologic outcome. Tesamorelin is a great example of how peptide therapy can be used to influence a major axis of health, the growth hormone, IGF-1 pathway, which connects to the body composition, recovery, and tissue physiology. So the real value of tesamorelin is that it shows how sophisticated peptide design has become. It's a reminder that peptides are not just trendy compounds, they are part of much bigger shift towards more targeted pathway-driven medicine. Next is Epithalon, one of the most talked about peptide in the longevity world. Epithalon gets attention because it's associated with telomerase, cellular aging, and the broader idea of supporting healthy lifespan. And that makes it incredibly interesting to people who are thinking beyond just short-term performance and more about long-term biology. To understand the fascination with Epithalon, you have to understand telomerase. Telomeres are protective structure at the end of the chromosomes. They have become one of the major symbols in aging research because of their connection to cellular replication and aging biology. Epithalon is interesting because it enters the conversation at that level, not just muscle, not just fat loss, not just recovery, but the biology of aging itself. Now, anytime we talk about longevity medicine, it's important to stay grounded and scientific. But it's also fair to say that one reason peptides are so exciting is because they invite us to think bigger about what medicine can do. Epithalon represents that frontier mindset. It's one of the peptides that makes people ask not just how do I feel better now, but how do I support healthier aging over time. So the reason Epithalon continues to attract so much interest is that it sits on one of the most aspirational areas of medicine, the biology of aging itself. It represents the hope that future therapies may help us support not just lifespan, but a health span. Now let's talk about growth hormone, because whether people realize it or not, growth hormone is the reference point for a huge part of peptide conversation. A lot of peptides are discussed because they either influence growth hormone release, burst downstream from it, or are trying to mimic some part of its effects. Growth hormone has been central in medicine, performance, recovery, body composition, and tissue physiology for decades. It plays a major role in IGF-1 signaling, protein synthesis, recovery, connective tissue support, and broader anabolic biology. The reason it remains such an important topic is simple. It sits on one of the body's most influential pathways for repair, growth, and regeneration. When people talk about improved recovery, better tissue quality, support for skin, support for joint, or change in body composition, very often they are really talking about downstream world of growth hormone and IGF-1 signaling. That's why understanding growth hormone gives context to so many of the peptides around it. So key takeaway here is that growth hormone remains one of the central pillars in understanding peptide medicine. Even when you are not talking about it directly, many peptide conversations are still orbiting around the biology that growth hormone helps control. Now this next one is a little different because it's not technically a peptide, but it gets talked about so much in optimization circle that it's worth mentioning briefly. Methylene blue. Methylene blue is fascinating because it has a legitimate medical history and has also become part of a broader conversation around mitochondria, energy production, and cellular function. People are interested in it because mitochondria sit at the center of so much of health, energy, cognition, aging, recovery, and metabolic resilience. So even though it's not a peptide, it often gets pulled into the same discussion because the goal overlaps. Better energy, better cellular performance, and better long-term function. And that's really why methylene blue keeps showing up in this conversation, because anything that touches mitochondria and cellular energy is always going to be relevant in the world of longevity and optimization. So when you step back and look at all these compounds together, what becomes really clear is that peptides are not just one thing. Some peptides are about repair, some are about metabolism, some are about growth signaling, some are about skin and connective tissue. Some are about healthy aging, and some are about helping us understand the body at much more precise level. And I think that's the bigger reason peptides have become such an important conversation in medicine and optimization. They represent a shift away from a blunt force approach and towards targeted signaling. They give us a way to think in pathways, receptors, tissue communication, and biologic precision. That's what makes this field so exciting. If you want to better understand longevity, hormone, body composition, recovery, and performance, learning peptide is one of the best places to start because peptide sits right at the intersection of all those worlds. If you enjoyed this video, comment below and let me know which peptide you want me to cover next in a deeper dive. And if you want more science-based content on peptides, hormones, recovery, and longevity, make sure you like and subscribe. and follow MyFitMed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a healthy day.